Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, my friend's father body slammed him and cracked his head open. Entitled MIL demanded to know the contents of our mail. My dad won't stop touching me. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My friend's father body slammed him and cracked his head open. I was on a walk today and walked by one of my friend's houses. We are gonna call my friend Q, and saw that he was talking outside with his dad. I stopped because I was gonna go say hi to him, but Q and his dad started to argue over something. Then Q's dad grabbed him by the shirt collar and body slammed him onto the concrete and cracked his head open. There was a lot of blood and Q's mom ran outside screaming, "I'm going to call the cops." What is wrong with you? I just stood there in pure shock and horror, as one would. Thankfully his mom called an ambulance and cops. Update: Q is alright. He got stitches and the father has been arrested. Give a witness statement to the police. Seriously, you should. The father needs to stay in jail, and I hope he stays there for a long time. Like, what kind of monster does this to their own son? I hope your friend is okay. Like, what kind of monster does this to their own son? If this is what he does in public, I imagine that there's pure hell behind closed doors in that house. What I'd like to know is if mom tossed this bullying bastard out, finally. This isn't entitled parent stuff. This is straight up abuse and needs to be reported to police. Go make a statement. Entitled MIL demanded to know the contents of our mail. For context, my husband and I have lived at our address for almost 5 years. His parents live in a different state and moved houses 3 years ago. We are visiting his parents for the weekend, and the mail carrier just rocked up with a certified letter addressed to my husband at his parents' old address. Two things are going through my head. Why did they send it to that address of all places? We are not going to hear the end of this all weekend. We went ahead and signed for it to appease the mail carrier, as it was going to be a battle either way. MIL is super nosy and is an attack chihuahua, gets stuck on something and won't let go. The contents of the letter aren't pleasant, even if they aren't relevant anymore, and if she goes snooping, which I don't put past her, it's going to cause more friction in my already shaky relationship with her. Frick our lives. ETA, she did actually ask several times what the mail was and even hollered hello. Aren't you going to tell me? Take picture/scan of the letter. Tear up the letter, place in water glass filled with water. Stir until mostly pulp. This is how I would destroy old copies of proposals when I traveled for work. This is kind of overkill, though I admire your proposal privacy. I am in similar role. She can tear it up or use a Sharpie and cross out anything personal and trash it while out and about. Also, most UPS stores have free shredding, especially in small quantities. You know, she would have signed for that letter, opened it and read it if you guys had not been there to receive it. Will she hunt it down in a zippered pocket of purse or suitcase? Can you lock your suitcase? Hide it in the lining of your luggage. Tell her it was an invitation to the White House / to have tea with the Queen / for an audience with the Pope. Whichever seems most suitable. Just destroy the letter. You might need to leave the house to burn it at a park where they have grills, or shred it and throw it away at a fast food restaurant. If she won't shut up about it, I'd stay somewhere else and go home early. If one of you used her address on a credit application, etc., they would have it. Or they could have done a background check and sent it to relatives. My dad won't stop touching me. I, 17M, have a sensory thing where I can't stand certain things touching me. This includes interpersonal contact. I have clearly and politely communicated to my dad that I am uncomfortable being touched multiple times. A little context: my dad hugs and kisses me and my brothers every night before bed, which he only recently started doing. Well, one night, he saw the uncomfortable look on my face and asked what my problem was. Up till this point, I had never told him I didn't like being touched because he ignores other boundaries. Since he asked, however, I decided to tell him and see where it went. I said something along the lines of, "Touch makes me uncomfortable, especially hugging." He looked angry when he turned around and walked towards his room. After a couple steps, he scoffed at me and said, "I'm not doing that." Strike one, I expected something like that, but it still hurt. About 2 days after that, he caught me wincing at being hugged and, for some reason, asks me what's wrong again. I said that I had already told him I don't like being touched. This time, he told me, "You're my son and I can hug you if I want to." Strike two, well, a couple weeks afterwards, I was leaving his house to go to my mom's. I was sitting in the car and he walked up to the window, asked for a hug. I, being out of energy and sick of the heat that day, didn't say anything to communicate that I didn't want a hug. This time I just stuck my arm out the window and gestured for a fist bump. That might have been slightly immature, but I was too hot to talk. He responded by telling me, "Boy, you better get out and give me a hug," followed by opening my door and holding his arms out. Strike three, I have this rule where I stop trying to set a boundary with him after 3 tries, it's just a waste of time. He justifies himself all the time by saying that he's just making sure he makes me spend as much of my time as I can with him before I turn 18, just in case I'd go no contact with him. I wonder why he would think I'd do that. Edit, I feel like it might be valuable to add that we spend all day together. Like, he works from home and I don't have a bedroom at his house, so it's not as though this is the one time he gets to show me affection. My mother was the same until the pandemic. To me, the risk of COVID, I work in a hospital, her health is becoming fragile, so I was a risk to her, was too large, so I made her clear I did want to keep a safe distance. We never went back to normal, aka me suffering from her constant touching. I have no clue how I could have stopped her without the pandemic. She doesn't seem to understand that people are different. Some like to hug, others don't. Some like to be touched, others don't. Perhaps you can find some examples of things you like, and your dad dislikes. And how you don't share those things. I'm glad that worked for you. Also, I appreciate the suggestion, however, my dad doesn't hold to a belief that our opinions are equal. It's really just what he says goes in his household. Thank you though. If you're 17, you're old enough to decide not to go to your dad's place. I really hate this for you. Forcing affection on kids starts teaching them young that consent is only needed by one party. Also, if you can't even trust your dad to respect your boundaries, how can you expect anyone else to? Or know that you have support when you do tell someone no? I have 2 young kids and I always ask for hugs and kisses. If they say no, I don't make them feel guilty about it either. Just a simple "okay then, maybe next time, love you." My love isn't contingent on them letting me show affection. And if a family member tries forcing affection, I tell my kids they have to be the one to say no, they have to express their boundaries. If the family member still doesn't stop, then I'm there to go full mama bear. Have you tried just saying no thank you and leaving? If he tries the whole "you're my kid" thing, you can just reply, "and this is my body, so, no," and walk off. If you're feeling brave, you can also play the pervert card and ask why he's suddenly become a perv. He'll stop real quick. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.